Oh, cool. It's recording to the cloud.
Just
I'm not
pause it
sure
now.
where in the cloud that'll be.
Yeah, we'll find out. But
Okay.
I want to make sure that you have access to this recording.
Mhm.
I will, if it's recorded on my cloud, I will go ahead and put it onto YouTube
Okay.
and then just give you the link. But if it's on yours, please do the same, just so that we can all
Right.
access it.
That sounds good.
Excellent.
Cool. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna pull up the thing. I don't usually use my computer anymore because it's so old. So like, but it's good. Okay.
I totally get it.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm opening the thingy. Okay.
How are you doing?
Good. I'm excited. I've been really excited about this. I'm also nervous, but like in a good way, I think.
Yeah, excitified, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the best. That means if you're scared, that means you care. This
Right.
matters to you. So you're showing up for something that really matters to you.
Yeah. I remember being told that in high school.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Still true.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you? How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. It was really nice. I got the whole house cleaned before
Mm,
my sister and her husband and my nibbling showed up. And so it was like a very feeling
mm,
like
mm-hmm,
this house had been like bothering me for a while.
mm-hmm.
A little background here. I live in my mother's house. I'm actually not there right now. Um,
Okay. Uh-huh.
so that background with that you usually see with the books and everything, like
Oh,
that's
I
my
see.
own little sort of corner space of like my mother's home. And my
Uh-huh.
mother, God bless her, is a hoarder.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That is
And
a thing.
so it gets exhausting. Like
Yeah.
cleaning up is not just like tidying up, it is a whole ordeal where you
Mm,
have to go through like everything and be like, Mom, is it okay for me to throw this away? Mom, is it okay for me to move this? Mom, where does this go? What is this? So it's like an emotional ordeal
yeah.
to go through. And so just like being on the other side of that feels really like, oh,
Oh, good.
there's so much space in that space now. And I just feel so much more like relaxed and relieved.
That's really good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you got to enjoy that for the Thanksgiving gathering. Like you had that space. That's really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, the food is always, again, it's like, it's a whole thing of, my mom feels like she needs to control the whole thing, but I want to be a part of it. And so it's like there's tension there, but at the same time, like, I know that this is how my mom shows her love,
I
you
see.
know? And
Yeah.
so I just have to appreciate that for what it is. Like, this
Yeah,
is her
that makes sense.
way of showing us that she loves us.
Hmm.
And so I just show up as best I can, like, and not get caught up in her like crazy, frenetic energy of like it
Hmm.
has to be a certain way and it's got to be like this, and just keep taking deep breaths and enjoy as best I can, right? Enjoy the ride.
Right. That sounds like the best it could be.
Yeah, exactly. And we
Yeah.
watched a lot of Mystery Science Theater 3000 because that's a little
Street
family.
Science Theater 2000.
It's Mystery Science Theater 3000, and
Wow, okay.
it is a an absolutely ridiculous show that started as like a local cable channel somewhere, um, that where they take like the worst movies that they can find,
Okay.
the absolute worst of the worst, and they make fun of it. And so
Okay.
it's like a really fun, like you can have it on in the background and not like pay super attention to it because the movie's terrible and you don't want to like pay attention to the plot anyway.
Mhm.
You just kind of like catch the wisecracks here and there, and it's really fun. Hello, Melissa. I'm so glad you're here. I wasn't sure if you were going to be here today.
Yeah, I'm
When?
headed out on Wednesday. So
Oh, so exciting.
so excited.
Melissa's going on a grand adventure.
Where are you going?
I'm gonna go to Barcelona and Marrakesh.
Oh, wow.
Never been to either country, so I'm super excited.
That's really,
That's
yeah, that's
awesome.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yay. I've always wanted to go to Morocco. I've never been, but
I've heard it's amazing, so
yeah,
I'm so psyched.
it is amazing. I should introduce you to Dr. Hind Bouhia. She lives in Morocco and could give you all kinds of insider tips. And she's also just an amazing lady.
That'd be cool.
Okay, I will make a note to do that intro. All right. We are a little past 10:30. If you want to go ahead and get rolling, Claire, feel free to do so. I leave it
Okay.
in your capable hands from here.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So let's see. I'm gonna set up screen sharing. Okay. I'll oh, okay. I haven't done this a lot, so I have to take a second to
No
adjust to
problem.
having the things. Okay, so view, slideshow.
There we go.
Okay. Can you see, do you see that your faces? Or is that just, do you
Yeah,
see the top bar for the screen sharing?
not anymore. It just says
Okay.
you're viewing Claire Turner's screen.
Okay. I'm gonna drag this down. Cool. So I'll get this situated before actually really starting. Okay. So this is a workshop, which I put together. It's based on an idea that's snowballed into really feeling um like developing a really close relationship with Earth as a sentient being, as like the host for our consciousness here. And it's like since this is already a spiritual group, this is a bit more of an advanced discussion on grounding, because people I'm sure already know like the basics and practice this. So yeah, I want to introduce my logo because I have this on all my slides. It's the crow holding sword, and it symbolizes fearlessness, wielding the power of discernment. And I think that's just a good way to get an idea of the overarching goal for my work and how I want to approach things. So I want to start. I want to this is going to be like a melding of spiritual philosophy with practice and essentially discussing the finer details of definitions and like interactions of ideas in order to uh, bring enrichment to the grounding process that we already have. It won't really make it any. It's not like it'll make the practice more complex. It'll just clarify it. That's the goal. So I want to start with beginning the practice and grounding together. And we'll be kind of iterating throughout this, like through the workshop. So applying things as they come up. So let's take a few minutes and just let's just take a few minutes to first like settle together. So this workshop is called Grounding into Divine Orientation. We're going to begin with the first section is about finding the orientation. And then we'll approach the divinity later in the next part of the workshop. So we can start with finding the point in space that is our physical body. And something I've been practicing more recently is actually through my awareness, through my soul awareness, pointing my awareness to my physical body, viewing the center of my being as having its own gravity, and my awareness is just getting sucked into me. And I'm just bringing more and more attention into my being, into the center. I view it in the heart space. And like this is kind of a fun, it's a little funny. It's a fun little trick. You can say spirit, God, source, whichever you prefer. You can point to yourself and say, this is me. This is my body. This is my body. Her name is Claire Frances Turner. You can name yourself, say, I am spirit in this body. We're working from here. Help me here. This is where we are. This is where I want support. And that just helps with clarifying where the attention and awareness is going. Okay, so now we can become aware of our physical relationship with the earth. We are being pulled down into earth by gravity. And also there's in the physical laws, there's the normal force, which is something that surfaces exert to prevent other solid objects from passing through each other. And that force is occurring, it's being acted upon us perpendicular to the Earth's surface. So while gravity is pulling us, our physical body, into the center of the Earth, the normal force is pushing up on us, up out from the center of the Earth. And there's this axis that is forming between us and Earth. That is the axis through which these energetics are occurring, these physical energetics. And this is our axis of orientation. And we will be working with this. This is a fundamental vector that we will use to trace the energetics as they occur on many different levels, physical and spiritual, and which will be how we orient ourselves. I want to start I want to start this grounding process by really isolating out our awareness of our physical bodies because we're going to be talking about other bodies, and from what I've experienced with grounding, teaching about grounding, it's all kind of mixed together. Like people say ground your roots into the earth, visualize grounding your roots into the earth. And that's we don't actually have physical roots. So that's happening on a more spiritual level. And it just helps to get clear, like when we get clear about what's happening on a spiritual level and what that is, then we can get clear on what is possible and what is available to us. And it can help distribute the connection through these different aspects of our being. So we're gonna start by defining the physical body. And these definitions are based in and Rudolf Steiner's book Theosophy and the anthroposophical system. So the physical body, as I understand in that book, is like the physical body is considered all of physical matter. So our human body is the same as the earth body. And physical matter, if you think about it, is also just made of energy, but I define it in this case as that which abides by the laws of physics. So it's energy that's manifested within a certain density and area of frequency. And that corresponds with the laws of physics, which are universal laws that also manifest and are applied to that realm of frequency. So you can see here, this is you and Earth and the axis of orientation. And this is the same as the column. So the column that is so commonly taught. And it's a pretty universal concept. And there's this other book called The Sacred and the Profane, and the first chapter really stood out to me because it's all about the importance of the column in creating a sense of spiritual orientation. And it's through that column that people consecrate and create, turn a space that might otherwise be profane and make it sacred. And that creates a sense of differentiation and a sense of direction. And it transforms something that was chaotic and homogeneous, and it makes it usable. So I don't know if, can you see this slide okay? Okay, good. So this is my attempt to illustrate. So this is this column here. This is the axis of orientation that we're talking about. And it, to me, so it's like, you know, the tree of life. It's like that. So like the roots of the tree going down into the earth and then the branches going up into the spiritual realm. It's the same idea. And it's pretty cool that so like going up isn't necessarily actually going up, it's increasing in frequency. And it can feel like going up. And going down is decreasing in frequency. And this bracket here represents an estimation of where this column can be manifested when we're observing it in the laws of physics on the physical level. And then it's this same axis that we are interfacing with to work on a higher frequency, which we are already doing, which includes our minds, like our souls and our minds. And the cool thing is that, so if our physical bodies are the same as the earth body, when we're increasing the frequency, we can trace how our minds are interfacing with the earth. And it's all part of like one giant organism. So I'm just gonna look at my notes and see if it's I think my biggest challenge with this workshop is figuring out the order to present everything in, and each time that I try running through it, I do a different order. So
Just let your
yeah.
intuition guide you, babe.
Huh?
Just let your intuition guide you.
Okay.
Whatever feels like it should come next, should come next.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So it's we talk about part of why this is important too is we've developed the mind as humans. So like you know how you earn people develop and earn their big hearts and they earn empathy through life experience and through internalizing lessons. The same thing has been happening according to my studies with the human mind. And so part of this study is that so we've internalized so much power within our mind and our wisdom and our psyche that a lot of this won't happen automatically. We've kind of taken the reins for a lot of these things. And so if we want to get the most that we can out of our relationship with Earth, it's really important that we tease out these definitions. And um yeah, okay, so I'm just gonna move on because I think we'll talk about that more. This second section is talking about how we use our intention and our awareness of spirit to take this orientation that we found and to consecrate it as sacred in order to channel divine wisdom, which is the goal of the workshop. And yeah, okay, so we and Earth are spiritual beings. So just to like elaborate more on this, like so we can so we can define the soul as different from spirit. So we have we're spirit that's descended down, and the soul like is kind of a mediator for physical and spiritual aspects. Um, in Rudolf Steiner's Theosophy, which is these definitions are what I'm using for this, like the spirit is actually mind, which is pretty interesting. So like it's actually like spirit is this massive ocean full of living archetypes that are thought forms, that are spirit forms, and then they manifest down and they come through us as beings, and they also manifest on Earth, which is also Earth is also a spiritual being, and they manifest on Earth as aspects of their full nature, as like shadowy images. And so what's interesting is that Earth is like we're evolving alongside Earth, we're evolving in Earth, and Earth has, as a planet, as like a sentient spirit planet, has taken these archetypes and embodied them in a library that's full of everything relevant to consciousness in this system to human beings and to Earth consciousness as it's evolving. So yeah, okay, this is the first time I've ever done a lecture. It's a lot easier doing it completely by myself. Um, okay, so basically so like the earth actually contains a template for the human being. And so whether we're aware of it or not, all of our mind is actually drawing from earth. And the awareness is so important because um if we're aware of it, then we can take more control and have more agency in what's happening through our intention. Because things have to happen with consent. And so the goal of this is to actually channel the earth energy. So like on this axis of orientation that we have, to recognize that while it includes the laws of physics and like that's the axis through which the energetics are occurring, such as the laws of physics, that's also the axis through which the energetics on the higher frequencies are occurring, such as laws pertaining to mind. And that's the avenue through which we can essentially pull anything out of the earth into our spirit. And this is a lot like what it's like to be, you know how people talk about channeling white light for healing and being mediums for that? They they're channeling that from the earth too. And it's very similar. I think a lot of the time people are talking about it for healing specifically. Um, but you're channeling this, you don't really know you don't know all the details. So like if you're channeling white light and you're sending that to someone or to yourself for healing, you don't know all the details about what it's doing. It's it's like it's a it's a flow state. And because what you're channeling knows so much more than what we know right now. And working with Earth in this way, we can essentially, while we're grounding with Earth, we can pull up Earth spirit into like to fill up our entire being. And we might not know all the details of what's happening. But when I've been doing this, when I've been practicing this, it just, because you know how people experience a lot of like, there's this whole thing about like existential dread, essentially. I think this is a balm to that and a solution or almost even a cure because it's the earth literally holds all the information we need about our incarnation. And we're meant to be communicating with her because we are actually aspects of her. So this is like a natural process. It's like the flow. It's like the way even. And it's a matter, it's different from like pulling in spiritual information and then just having like a set of words or something to guide. It's more of it's about embodiment. It's embodying context. And this is what gives this sense of ease that allows, that really helps with actually following through on guidance. So yeah, okay, good. I want us to practice this again. Um, to kind of get this idea. And I have some specific examples of ways we can actually use this. Can I Does this make sense so far? Okay. Okay, that's good. So we've already done the first part. We've felt into the physical relationship. And I really think that when grounding, it really helps to always start with a physical relationship because it's it's what's most immediately available to our tangible senses. So by perceiving that, then we can perceive the axis of orientation much more quickly, and then we can work with it with our intention. So there are 3 steps. We become aware of our physical bodies and of gravity pulling us down into the center of the earth. And then we become aware of the axis of orientation. We find our orientation. And it does it when we're sitting up or standing, it does go through the spine. And of course it extends up as well. I feel like in so much spiritual discussion, people talk about pulling in spirit and like pulling in wisdom from spirit through the crown. But we can pull it up through the earth. And it's like the earth is so available with all the relevant information, and it's part of our bodies that it's just a really useful thing to keep in mind. And also when people talk about connecting with spirit through the crown, there's this element of opening up and then closing down to be grounded to go about the rest of the day. And when we have this flow with earth, this is like the actual ultimate goal. So it's something that we can continue throughout our day. It's literally just being more embodied and being more integrated with who we are and bringing our wholeness all together. So now that we have this axis of orientation, the 3rd step is to consecrate it as sacred. So set an intention. This axis, it's like a wick, and you set it on fire with spiritual wisdom. And the fire rises from the earth up through your spine, into your body, and fills you up. Now, I want to talk about different ways we can apply this for the rest of the workshop and give us opportunities to practice. I've been learning about this while putting this information together. So this is really just a playful thing at this point. The discussion of specifying spirit as mind and isolating out the physical body are just uh, they're just important in order to be able to set the intention. It's just to set intentions clearly. So one thing that's really, really helpful to open up our connection, to open up our ability to connect with spirit is to cultivate a sense of awe. That creates a context within the soul that allows it um, receive receive things, essentially. So some things we can have awe for for just visualizing how our bodies are part of Earth's body and how Earth's body is part of our body. And Our bodies seem small and they look a lot more simple on the outside than they are on the inside. But if we just think about all the cellular processes going on and all the little details that occur inside of our organs and how many we have, it's pretty amazing. And then if we think about everything manifested on Earth right now and have offer that, and then recognize all the potential that's stored inside of Earth, there we there's so many things we can't imagine right now. And we can ask Earth to help us imagine those things that are relevant to us and that are for our highest good. And we can also recognize the teaching of this day and age that the whole universe is inside of us. And we could just like begin to fathom the cosmos on a physical level. It's pretty, there's a lot to have awe for. So that'll help. And that'll help with all of spiritual development. That's and this I'm in a Rudolf Steiner studying phase right now, and his book How to Know Higher Worlds, the first thing that he talks about is like being a spiritual initiate is cultivating a sense of awe and reverence. And how it's a blessing to have that, to even have the desire to feel awe for things. And something else we can think about here is the different clair types for the grounding process. I know Dr. Odd, you talk about breathing colored light into your body, and I thought that that would be a really cool way to visualize drawing in earth wisdom. You can so like for a clairvoyant, uh something that I think for me it's so I like to what I naturally do is I visualize like my mind body as an outline of a human body. And then I imagine it being a vacuum. And I'm connected to Earth through this energetic vector. And I picture Earth is like full of this um melting pot of shapes and forms that are different archetypes. And I picture that the ones that are relevant to me just flow up into me through this vacuum. And it's like into the vacuum to fill it up. And it's like full of all these different colors and they're all moving around. And that has a sensation to it too. So you can imagine how it feels and allow that to be so. And also, of course, claircognizance is very helpful. The again, I think what helps most is to set the intention. So to set the intention to be a channel for Earth's spirit wisdom as it flows into your spirit as you are one body for your highest good, and to bring a sense of ease and clarity and joy and context into your daily life. That is a sort of claircognizance that will be most helpful rather than expecting to like get thought downloads. While I'm sure that that will happen, the process of connecting is about the intention. And then of course, someone could hear things. Um, I think that's such a personal thing. So I'm mostly including this slide to encourage people to get curious and creative about how their connection with Earth can manifest for them. I know I personally have, for years, I've done a tree meditation. And so I could do that now and include the intention that Earth spirit come up into my mind. And part of why this intention is so important is, so let's see okay. So I'm trying to, I feel this feels funny trying to express this idea in pictures, but hopefully it comes across. So there are different aspects of our mind. And they're so like, I don't know who actually where this came from, but the phrase like energy flows where attention goes. Something that I've noticed for me is that I'll ground. But if I'm only thinking about grounding, that's the only part of my mind that I am integrating into the grounding experience rather than inviting the grounding experience into the rest of me. So if I'm leaving out the parts of my mind that I actually want to be grounded, then it's quite possible that they're being neglected, essentially. And I have these images here. So this thought cloud represents all of our mind, which is on so many different levels, of course. So it's like our spirit and our mind. And there's this little part of the mind that's thinking, I'm grounding. And it's bringing that energy into the grounding process. And then the grounding, will occur. It can feel peaceful. And then in my experience, I still throughout the day and throughout my life will often really not feel very grounded still. There's this other way of thinking about it where in your mind you're thinking, I want this grounding process to bring Earth's wisdom up to fill up all of me. And then okay, I'm so glad you're nodding. Okay. By setting this intention, it's like it's setting an invitation. It's opening this invitation and it's really that simple. It's just having that invitation and having that awareness lets the energy flow and just optimize so many systems within our minds and being that we can't like micromanage all of them, but it's if we leave that out, then it's just potentially not going to happen. So okay. I think also we practice grounding because there are parts of ourselves that are resistant to grounding. And so when something I've observed in myself is actually I'll ground and then I'm just focusing on grounding. I'm thinking about my relationship with Earth. It's feeling good. I'm like feeling good in my nervous system. Um and that's all I'm thinking about. And then I come out and then I could actually so essentially while I'm grounding, if my psyche contains a part that wants to ground and a part that doesn't want to ground for whatever reason, when I'm grounding, when I'm kind of like forcing myself to ground, I have really forced myself to ground sort of aggressively because I didn't know how else to do it. And that creates a sort of fighting element with the part that doesn't want to ground. And then, so the more energy that we put into trying to ground, the more energy the other part of us is resonating at to avoid grounding. And if we're not thinking about that at all, then when we get out of the grounding session, we feel really good because that's all we've been thinking about is just a relationship with the earth. Then this other part of ourselves will still be resonating with resisting grounding, and it can lead to swinging back and forth like a pendulum. And so when we ground, we can set the intention to harmonize that aspect of ourselves. So we can actually, we've found our axis of orientation, and we've consecrated that as divine. And we've invited this sacred flame of Earth's wisdom up into our bodies. And then we invite it to fill up all of our being. And we also recognize, we draw awareness to the parts of ourselves. For me, it's on the right side of my body, like in my gut, sort of, and it'll shoot out. So I can draw that into me, bring my awareness to it, hold it close, hold it with love, like one might with a small child, and hold that there. Recognize it's a part of me that's in pain, and then set the intention for this spiritual flame of wisdom to enter that part of me and to harmonize it. So it's not, it's soothing it. It's not fighting against it. It's not making it go away. And I think with a practice like this, I, especially in the past, would sometimes be afraid. It's like, I'd be afraid I would like lose things. There's a lot of talk about letting go of things. And um, I think that when someone's truly ready to let go of something, they already know they are. And so they're going to be working on it. And if someone's afraid that they're going to lose something, if they're not ready to let it go, they're not going to lose it. And we can invite spirit to harmonize things with trust that it's not going to, nothing's going to get taken away from us. Like through this process of connecting with spirit, um, we're only going to be gaining things. And so with this part of us that might, for some reason, there are a lot of reasons why it might be resistant to being on Earth, we can request that the spiritual wisdom harmonize with that, and we can trust that it will be taken care of, and we're going to remain intact. And we'll in fact just be more intact, and connections will form, and it will be a gentle process in alignment with our highest good. And we can set intentions also to make it as gentle as it needs to be. So that is, in principle, just bringing that awareness into the process of grounding can be so helpful. And then there's this whole notion that we talk about in this group of my thoughts create my reality. That can feel like a lot of responsibility. And um, with like, if we feel disoriented in life, it can feel really confusing about where the grounds upon which to form my thoughts to create my reality. We might not be sure. We might be worried that maybe we don't know how good things can be, and so we're settling. And someone might also be struggling with mental illness and know that it can be distressing if you keep thinking thoughts that you don't want to have as your reality, and you potentially they're not true, and you just can't stop thinking them because like the body's stuck in a loop. Or you can potentially they are true, and you just are concerned that maybe you're focusing on them so much, but maybe someone's not ready to let go of them. And in that case too, you don't have to let go of them. You can invite Earth to harmonize that and to bring context and relief. And then also there are many intentions. So depending on where someone's struggling with their thoughts creating their reality, you can set intentions that maybe Earth can show you to, like, maybe one day you can open yourself up with awe and ask that Earth introduce to you um a sense of how great things can be. And you can ask that Earth gives you flows into your being as you ground, that you can draw up a sense of context within your body on all levels of balance and of what is necessary to hold within your being in order to manifest the life that is meant for you. And so, yeah, okay, so I think for the rest of this workshop, I'd like for us to just do this together. So basically, we can sequence these strategies for how we can use this wisdom. These strategies involve sequencing awareness with intentions and invitations. And so we can sort of troubleshoot. So we begin with bringing awareness to the physical, and then we bring awareness to the orientation that we have within our whole being between us and the earth. And then we set the intention for that relationship, for that orientation, for that column, that energetic vector to be consecrated as sacred within our conscious experience. So that's an intention and an invitation. And we invite Earth's wisdom and spirit to flow into our spirit so that we can be connected in the way that's for our highest good. And once again, this is how it's intended to be. Like it would be like, I mean, you could think of it like if the chi in the human body is blocked in one area, you could go to a medicine practitioner who will help unblock that flow of chi. And it's a similar thing with if we're beings on Earth who are tense and hence blocked to the flow of spirit that is our whole being, then we will be cut off from like the food and from the flow of our whole being, and we will be stuck in the loops that we're embodying at the time, and also in the fragmentation of having the blocked flow, essentially. So we have the invitation to Earth. We invite ourselves to have a natural, healthy relationship and to have that be flowing in the way it's appropriate now. And then so once we've consecrated that space, then we can bring it awareness to all of us. We can bring awareness to we can potentially then we can once again generate a feeling of awe for our own spirit and just fathoming the stretches of our own spirit mind. And in doing that, we've drawn awareness to the spaces where the energy can flow so it can branch out. And we can also then set the intention for that energy to flow there. And we can also bring awareness to something we're struggling with right now. And then we can bring awareness to kind of in whatever way that works for your spiritual psychic abilities, you can bring awareness to the aspect of you where you would locate that struggle. And then you can draw that into you. You can pull that and you can hold it. And then invite wisdom to flow into that. We can also ask for Earth to create a context within us that is most conducive to us being able to be so fully embodied as spirit here that we can draw down, but that we can manifest the true glory of our inner being and our true aliveness, that we can manifest that here so that instead of feeling like there's a fragmentation between the physical plane with so much suffering and the higher planes with so much love and unity, so that we can be the bridges to actually literally manifest that unity and love of the higher frequencies here, so that it's conscious and imbued into the physical plane. Because that's the ultimate goal for embodiment. And we are entirely capable of doing that. We have all the faculties available to us within our beings, and we have all the information and support necessary to do it. I've spoken a lot about harmonizing and creating context as intentions. We can also ask for Earth to bring to us coherence and perspective and ability and love, and to help us remember the sense that we are inherently worthy and we're always supported and we always have this energetic channel occur. It's always there. When we invoke the pillar, the energetic pillar, all that's doing is setting the intention in our conscious mind. It's always existing. The universal laws are always acting upon us and are always connecting us to Earth and to the higher realms. And yeah, I think as I've been putting this together, I've been realizing that it's less about the ideas themselves and it's more about giving a voice to Earth herself, because she wants us to be aware of this, just of all the possibilities of our relationship with her. And she doesn't have her own voice in the way that our bodies do. And so she's always speaking to us. And I believe I'm going to put together a write-up summary for this. So if anyone wants that, um, I can email it to you. And I'm starting my own business right now. I've had my website, I've had my email list for a long time, but I'm putting together a spiritual development studio with meditations throughout the week that are unguided, where people can just show up as they are and practice as they feel is best for them, and then find community around that after the 20 minutes in a little chat and check-in session. And I also am hosting study halls throughout the month that are 3 hours long of just space for someone to meditate and then do spiritual study, or I have someone who wants to work on her composing there, and to just have like a container. And I'm also doing psychic readings and things like that. So that summarizes how I am of like how I'm showing up in the world right now as a spiritual philosopher. And yeah, thank you so much for this space to do this because it's been I really, really wanted to start speaking about these things, and it can be challenging, especially without having any like deadlines or containers for it. So this has been really a really safe feeling space for me to dive into my first time like putting together a whole workshop around something. So thank you so much.
Thank you. This was wonderful. And I really want to just honor your bravery of stepping up and doing this. You were kind of the first member of the community to say, like, I want to host a meeting. And that's exactly why I created this. So thank you so much for stepping up. It was really incredible.
Thank you.
So I have a couple of things that came up for me. Can we have discussion?
Yes, yeah, I would love that. I would love that.
Okay. So one thing that I wanted to talk about, I saw this video the other day where this physicist explains that gravity is actually caused by time, not space. And it absolutely blew my mind. I'll put the video in Slack so you can actually watch it yourself because it's way too complicated for me to just explain right now. But it was like, oh my gosh, because the way he describes time is really just like causation, right? Like this causes this, right? And causation is really just our awareness of causation. And so to me, time is consciousness. That's what that is. Because it only moves in one direction, and that's kind of what consciousness, does.
Well, interesting.
Through this space, right, as an awareness of a causality. And so I realized, like, oh my gosh, gravity is actually consciousness, and it just like, yeah.
Okay, I'm filtering that.
Right, like
yeah. Because I've heard gravity described as a curvature in space-time, but that's different. That's different from it being
so
like
space-time is kind of one thing, right? And that thing again is just consciousness. Like it's the awareness of like we are in space and we are moving through time. And so yes, it's the curvature of space-time, but it's actually the time portion of space-time that
Okay.
I'll post the video. But anyway, this was so interesting to me, just thinking about our relationship to the earth as a relationship of consciousness, and that is what kind of connects us to the earth. But then also, like you were saying, that pushing back against us and that support in a way. So this was really interesting, and I like also the separation of like spirit as mind, and then soul as basically the inner being, source, like the thing that is beyond all of the physical, and how that we get into this, we surrender essentially to a flow state in order to reconnect with that, and that there is this collective unconsciousness that spirit is tapped into. And so there are these archetypes, but also these kind of repeated thoughts. Remember, you were talking about like the repeated thoughts that come again and again and again. And part of that is that we are connected to a collective consciousness.
Yeah, that's very true.
That repeats these thoughts and these ideas over and over and over again. And so, yes, there is like personal responsibility in the sense of like creating a reality, but it's so far beyond the ego self. It's so far beyond that. It's tapped into a collective unconsciousness that is, way beyond our personal ability to change it, right? There's agreements, like the laws of the universe that we cannot change.
Yeah,
And so it's
that's
really
really,
kind
really
of,
true.
yeah, it's a facile idea to say like, oh, you create your reality. That's not strictly speaking true.
Mhm.
What we do is we create our experience. We create our own experience of what we came into, right? Which was going
Yeah.
on long before we showed up. And so it really literally is a matter of perspective. That when we can change our perspective, that's when we create an experience of this construct that feels harmonious. And so I love, love, love this idea of just giving it back to like, this is too big for me. This is something I say all the time. Like, this is too big for me. I give it back to you to harmonize this.
Mm-hmm.
So the beauty of that grounding practice and just remembering that we are part of something so much beyond ourselves, and it's not all on us to change what we're seeing in the world. We can't do that even if we wanted to. But what we can do is shift our focus and then surrender, 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 ground into something so much bigger than ourselves and just say, hey, I give this back to you to harmonize. I give this back to you to balance, to send me the opposite of this thought or this feeling that I'm picking up from every energy around me.
Yeah.
Especially in
Yeah.
these times where there's war and there's, you know, all the awfulness, right? All the negativity that is out there on the news. It is an absolute sanity saver to remember that we can just tell the earth, hey, earth, please balance this for me. Please harmonize this for me. All of this negative energy that's coming into my space, help me alchemize it and shift my perspective and focus on the opposite of this energy.
Yeah, I also loved that idea of resonance. That was wonderful. Yeah, well, I loved hearing, I love learning about other people's practices and different ways of, yeah, that was really beautiful, Claire. Thank you.
Oh, good.
Um, a couple of things that came up when I was trying is it's funny, you notice them really clearly when you get real quiet, is like, oh, I have a loss of control, fear of loss of control. And I'm like, oh, that was interesting. Or fear of just like letting like the earth come up, or but also the unworthiness, like, oh, I'm not good enough to receive earth energy or something like that. That kind of, I was like, that's interesting that came up. Good stuff to think about. But I really liked your practice.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you. Okay.
so powerful.
Thank you.
And awe. Oh my gosh, yes, awe. That's such a big one for me. Because
That
that
was
to me, that's
great. I love
that's
that.
that's part of appreciation. You know, that I've been talking
Mm.
about this weekend, moving up to the full moon on Monday. I'm naming it Appreciation Weekend.
Mhm.
But really, appreciation is awe. It's an awareness of like the mystery of how much there is to appreciate that we don't even understand and cannot possibly understand. And so we just stand in wonder and awe of what is. Mm, that feels so good to me.
Thank you. Yay.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, yeah, it's really, really helpful to hear the feedback. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to like know that something's helpful for you and not be sure yet until you hear from other people if it's like something that is like a more universal that other people will connect with or resonate with. So hearing that is yeah. Yeah, it sounds like yeah, okay, the resonance, the concepts of resonance and awe and
Yeah.
um yeah, playing with the like interplay of physics with consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The imagery is really helpful to do that. I think everyone has kind of their own, you know, imagery.
Hmm.
I love when I do this, like what I see is a kind of like mycelial network almost of like sort of It's so hard to explain these things, right? It's like so clear
Yeah.
in my brain if I could just like show you the image in my mind, right? But it's like these little tendrils of energy that come out from my feet and then also from the crown and kind of go out into that like a tree that's like branches and roots that come together on the outside. So there's sort of a circle. And I feel like that inside of the circle is just my little bubble of energy. And once I was sitting in my car and there was like the rain was just like pounding outside, was pouring really, really hard. And I felt this sense of like safety, that this energy is constantly coming at me, right? But I am surrounded by this little bubble and it cannot touch me unless I open the door and like give it permission to, or like open the, you know, the sunroof and let it in. And so I love that idea of like there is this safety within the connection, that we can be connected and safe at the same time. I would love to have a guided meditation. Like this was really awesome to know all the kind of background of like where these concepts come from and how you connect with it. And I felt myself wanting more of just like talk me through connecting. Like I want to just be connected right now. And I
Yeah.
want to go deeper into that.
So yeah, I was curious if is there anything that I kept talking about more than was necessary and that you wish that I could have focused on more?
Like I said, this was a really awesome background. You know, I think this is a great place to start. And
Yeah.
it left me wanting more,
Okay.
which is great. Because
Okay.
that's exactly what you want, right? It was like, oh, I want to go further with this, with you.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, it's similar. Like I would have, like I think you kind of had a little springboard to like, and I was doing my own little meditation, kind of following what you said, but I guess a step by step would also be kind of cool. Something Adrienne said, I think it was the feeling of safety. That was kind of cool. The feeling like you only receive, and that helped with my fear of loss of control. So that was great. But yeah, it was all really interesting. A lot of new stuff for me. A couple terms I didn't know. I might have to Google that. Clara something. I don't know what that was.
Clairsentience?
Clarisenses or claritypes. Clara
Oh,
something.
the clear types.
Yeah, claritypes. I don't know
Yeah.
what those are. I'm gonna go Google those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a
that's
lot of
really cool
information
stuff.
about those. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
we can talk about that in Slack too, the Claire types. Very cool stuff. Thank you so much, Claire.
Thank you.
You are a Claire type unto yourself, and
Yeah.
really appreciate your energy, and we appreciate you putting this together. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I just, as I was preparing for this, I was so grateful that I know that this was a space where I'd be doing it because I knew that it would be safe and supportive. So
Absolutely.
yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. I will be doing office hours. I am in a kind of noisy space. So if you are going to be coming to office hours, please let me know so that I can get into a quieter corner of this very noisy space that I am in. All right. Thank you so much. And have a wonderful awe and appreciation weekend. On that full moon on Monday, just allow yourself to receive, receive, receive. Lots of I accept, I accept, I accept. And I will see you next week.
Okay, thank you.